Will the Seattle Seahawks still consider taking a quarterback in the NFL draft? They took Sam Howell, obviously, via trade as the backup or potential competitor, depends on what your opinion is, for Geno Smith and the Seahawks quarterback position. But he is, as of right now, will be listed, obviously, as the backup. Now, a lot of people have mixed feelings about this trade. And I think, number one, you always need a backup, and I think it was an interesting trade. I think the biggest concern for most people is, number one, Justin Fields was on the board, and a lot of people liked him maybe a little bit more. And number two was, does that mean the Seahawks are moving off the potential of drafting somebody? Now, it's very interesting because when you talk about the Seahawks, right, John Schneider, GM of the Seahawks, he, quote, unquote, said, we are not necessarily proud of the fact that we haven't taken more than 2 quarterbacks in the draft in his time here. They took Russell Wilson and Alex Magoo was a 7th-round guy. Because of having Russell Wilson for so many years, they didn't have the necessity to bring in a quarterback. And John Schneider comes from the Green Bay method, where they are used to drafting quarterbacks and seeing what they can get out of them. And to him, it's a disappointment that they haven't been able to expand that and, have a young guy in the building and see somebody that might eventually compete for the starting job. They loved doing that with Russell Wilson, and it worked out. So you would think they wanted to do it this year, especially. Geno Smith on the last year of his contract and all that, information. What's interesting is Sam Howell is only a 1-year starter in this NFL. John Schneider loved him in the 2022 draft. So is he seeing this as his draft pick of a quarterback that he can develop for a year, that they can put behind Geno Smith and work on? Or do they still have belief that it's a potential to go draft a quarterback? Now, I find it kind of an odd situation, I guess is the best way to put it, because we have the number 16 pick. I would be surprised. Caleb Williams will not be there. It's a guarantee. He's like number 1 on PFF's big board. Number 3 on PFF's big board in terms of players, I'm saying, is Drake May from North Carolina. He won't be there at 16. Jaden Daniels from LSU is 22 on the PFF big board, but he's number 3 on the quarterback list. He probably, I'm going to most likely guess, will not be there unless he has a huge drop before the draft. But he shouldn't be there at 16. I mean, at the end of the day, somebody might either trade up to go get him around 10 or 11, and he's just probably not going to fall to the Seahawks at 16. Then you get to J.J. McCarthy. He's number 28 on the PFF big board. He may or may not also fall to 16. J.J. McCarthy is one of the most complicated ones here because you hear a lot of good things about him. You could see him going like 11th or 12th. You could also see him falling down to like the 20th spot, or if not more. But he is at the range of where the Seahawks could realistically draft a guy at 16. Obviously, after that, you have Bo Nix and Michael Penix, but they're not going to go that high in the draft. If nobody's going to take him that early, neither would the Seahawks. I just think it'd be surprising if they used their 16th pick on Bo Nix or on Michael Penix Jr., whether we wanted him or not. I'm just saying it'd be surprising. J.J. McCarthy, though, he's kind of right there in that range. But why I find it extremely interesting is that, okay, when you have the 16th pick and then you go trade for Sam Howell, I feel like you're telling me you're not using the 16th pick on a quarterback, right? You don't go trade for a backup and you have a starter that you're paying 20-something million to go draft your second or third string guy with your top 16 pick, the almost top half pick in the draft, right in the middle, I guess. But so I feel like some guys that are off the board immediately for us, like I mentioned, is Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and J.J. McCarthy. And then what's weird for the Seahawks situation is they have the 16th pick. Their next pick is round 3, 81. I don't think Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. will be anywhere close to round 3. They're going to be late first round, mid second round, worst case late second round. Ain't no way. I'd be shocked. That means the tape or the meetings go so bad if Bo Nix and Penix both fall down to the third round. So are the Seahawks going to draft a quarterback? That's when we get to the later round guys. And you get to things like this. The Seahawks today are bringing in former UCF and Ole Miss quarterback John Rhys Plumlee for a top 30 visit. He played his last season at UCF last year. He had a 62% completion percentage, 2,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 8 picks. Not necessarily a guy that, is like a top draft pick type of dude, right? Or not the type of guy that is a humongous, he would be more of a, I don't even know how to, he'd be more of a late guy to take or an interesting piece. I mean, he was a combine. They call him a combine snub. He's also played baseball center field at UCF. People thought that was funny because, we obviously took Russell Wilson, who also played baseball. Former baseball players work out. But he's not a guy we're using our third round pick on from what I know, right? Doesn't seem like where he falls on anybody's lists. When you get to that third round, the Seahawks have that third round at 81. Then they have fourth round, 102, 118. And then the sixth round, 179, 192. And seventh round, 235. After my top six, where I look at Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, who is realistic to potentially be like a third round pick, or third or fourth round pick, whatever. These are the guys left on the list that I could see as a potential if we go more on that front end, third, fourth round for a quarterback. There's Spencer Rattler from South Carolina. He's a day two type of quarterback. He might be on the board if the Seahawks like him. I'm not going to give you my thoughts if they're going to take him or not because you never know what the Seahawks, what they're doing, right? That's why they're good at their job. John Schneider's good at their job. It's pretty unpredictable. No one thought we would take Russell Wilson when we did. There's a lot of times people don't expect. Nobody thought we're taking Devin Witherspoon last year. The Seahawks are different. But Spencer Rattler will be on the board. Michael Pratt will be available in those second, third rounds from Tulane. Jordan Travis from Florida State, who is likely a day three guy. He's a developmental player. He should have been in the college football playoffs last year. Probably would have been higher up on a list, but remember he had an awful injury, and they got snubbed from the playoffs or whatever you want to call it, if you want to call it snub or not. They were left out of the playoffs because of his injury pretty much. He has intangibles, different things, but who knows, coming off an injury. And number 10 on the PFF big board, it's the 151 overall, is Austin Reed from Western Kentucky. Now, there's obviously other quarterbacks. Like I mentioned, there's John Plumlee who's coming in for a visit with the Seahawks. But what I find the most interesting, I guess, is after trading for Sam Howell, you have 16, then 81. You're not taking a quarterback at 16. I would be so shocked unless they're planning on trading Geno Smith and then taking that quarterback at 16. It'd be shocking that you went and traded for Sam Howell, kind of moved back 2 picks. They say we gave up the equivalent of a 7th round pick for Sam Howell, but we did kind of exchange and move back 2 spots on 2 different draft picks, right? We moved the 3rd back to a 4th, and I think it was a 6th to a 7th or 5th to a 6th, whatever it was, for Sam Howell. So would you really make that move if you were going to take a quarterback at 16? Probably not. And would you make that move if you were going to take a quarterback at 81 even in the 3rd round? I'm also going to guess probably not, because that would be the guy you'd want to be your backup, right? Unless you're starting Sam Howell and trading Geno Smith, or vice versa. Or if you're trading Geno Smith and starting the rookie, why would you go trade backwards in the draft using pretty much draft capital for a guy that you're going to use as like a 3rd string if you're going to draft a quarterback? So the way I'm seeing it is, do not expect the Seahawks to take anyone in rounds 1, 2, we don't have a 2nd round pick, 3, or 4. Expect the Seahawks to do a couple things. Take a flyer on the guy in the 6th round to have him as the 3rd string and see what happens. Take a guy undrafted that they really like, somebody that they have John Schneider has his little radar on him, and it's a little secret radar over there that nobody knows about. Snag him up. A guy like John Plumlee, who was considered a combine snub, and he's doing his Big 12 pro days, and he's a top 30 visit, but he's probably it could be a guy that's a late, super duper late, or undrafted. These are the guys that John's probably looking at when you consider the fact that he did trade for a quarterback as a backup. I'm so excited for this draft and to see what do they do, right? Because it's tricky. I mean, what is the right call? What is the right move? I don't know what the answer is, but I'm very excited to see what it is. And do you think that they're going to draft a quarterback at all or pick up somebody else? Or do you think the Sam Howell trade was kind of that's it, we're set at quarterback? Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe. Any support means the world. I love y'all, and we'll be back next time. Peace.